Howdy, y'all, and welcome back to day 4 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable Wild West event. No time for dilly-dallying, because riding into town is our host, Cara Delane.
Howdy, partners, and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Wild West event. I'm your co-host, Cara Delane. We're rounding the corner on the 4th and final day of the Fixed Ops Roundtable's 19th event. Don't get tossed around like a tumbleweed. It's time to saddle up for one last ride. Yeehaw! Meet us in the town square by using the chat feature on the right side of your screen. Just make sure to select everyone and not just host and panelist. We're lassoing in our next big speaker. Don't get caught spinning your spurs. Up next is Shawn Butler.
These days, it's hard to miss Shawn Butler, the Fixed Operations Director at Bristol Honda, Johnson City Acura, and Johnson City Mazda. He's all over social media. His posts and his words of wisdom are really something to be found and also revered by a lot of our colleagues. So, Shawn Butler, great honor to have you with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey, Ted, good to see you again. You know, I always enjoy your programs and your support, and I love to participate and learn from all the great people that come on. So thank you.
And Shawn, thank you for your support as well. You have an amazing backstory. I know you didn't just start off, you know, running Fixed Ops for this big portion of the Umansky Auto Group. Shawn, tell us a little bit about Shawn Butler and, you know, where you came from and how you got here.
Sure. I started off in the late 80s as a vendor doing interiors, paintless dent removal, painting bumpers, all that. Before that was a really big deal, you know, but, you know, I made a really good living in my 20s doing that. And then my father, at the same time in the mid 90s, had started an import business. when I turned 30, he turned 50. He came to me and he said, Shawn, I want you to get out of that business, come into mine. You got 5 years to learn my business. I'm going to retire when I'm 55. I'll sign over the shares to you. And when we do that, you'll just have to give me half of the partners split every year for the rest of my life. I was like, okay, fair enough. It's like a $50 million company. I can deal with that. And, but he had 3 minority partners. So he passed away at age 54 before all that could come to fruition. And so kind of at age 36, 37, I had to start over again when the other partners decided to go a different direction after my father passed. So I got back in the car business and I became an advisor, did very well, became a lane manager, left the dealership environment to run an independent where I learned how to do all things, right? You know, parts and the payrolls and the hiring and the taxes and all these different metrics that I would have never learned just as an advisor. So it made me smarter when I got back into the dealership environment, and I quickly became a manager, you know, service manager, service director, number 2 guy, you know, a really, really brilliant guy that tutored me well. And he said to me one day, and he said, Shawn, he said, you want my seat? Come take my seat. And I was like, okay, you know. But I didn't realize at first that he didn't mean his seat. But if I wanted to be like him, I had to invest more and learn more. And so I did. And I studied under him. And one day, you know, he said, you're going to leave me. And I was like, no, I love it here, you know. And 90 days later, I had an offer to start do my own thing. And I kind of used everything I learned to become like a fixer, if you will. Right. So going into situations where the outlook wasn't so, you know, glorious, and taking those things and instilling process, structure, and organization, along with personalization and your relationships with your employees, and building the whole thing up to where, you know, at this point now, have done like 4 kind of rebuilds, if you want to call it that. Yeah. And, you know, this one being the 4th one. The first 3 are still running successful. That's a good thing, right? If you did it the right way and you instilled all the processes and you trained your replacement properly, everything runs smoothly. Those all stores are still doing pretty well, and I'm pretty proud of that. And, you know, I like a challenge, and here I am in East Tennessee.
You know, something about us people in retail, a lot of times in life, not just in business, but in life, Shawn, we got to start over, right? And that's not always a fun thing to do. But I know a lot of times that also makes us stronger, right? And there's some rewards that can be found in that. What do you think about that?
I do. You know, one of the things that probably most people that know me, like through social media or in the last like 12 years, let's call it, what they don't know, is that I went through a very dark depression and like a 7-year addiction. And to where I pretty much went from living on Park Avenue to living on the park bench. Right. And so one day I just said, you know, Lord, I'm tired of living like this. You know, I got to change, and something's got to give. And, you know, it got lifted off of me. And ever since then, that's when you know, life's been a lot better because of all those experiences, right? Of how to relate to everybody from one end of the street to the other.
Isn't it amazing how in retail automotive, you know, we come across a lot of people who, you know, who maybe weren't so lucky, right? Who, you know, who fell into that trap and, you know, weren't able to come out, you know, positively on the other side. But we've seen all that. And, you know, today, here you are. Shawn, what are you passionate about? What, you know, what drives you?
I'm probably the most passionate thing that drives me is seeing other people achieve what success means to them. It can be different for everybody, right? Some people want education. Some people want recognition. Some people want more money. Some people want more family time. Helping those people achieve what matters to them probably gives me the most joy. Watching people who want to be master tech start off in express, and then when they hit master tech status, watching people get married, have children, buy their first house. You know what? I had a small little piece in that, helping them push towards getting that. That's very, very rewarding.
Would you say that you're easy to talk to, you know, on a personal level? You got a lot of employees there. I see the posts with you on social media, a lot of the photos you've got highlighting your team, your staff, their personal stories. But how about you? Are you easy to speak to, and what would you say?
I would say the obvious answer is yes, but probably not at first. I've been told that a lot of people are intimidated by me at the first time because I create a presence where, all right, this is the way we're going to do it. This is how we're going to get there. And this is, you got to share the vision, the goals, and each person's role. And so until they actually get to spend some one-on-one time, I try to make sure that I'm always talking to people going around through the shop, in the lane, talking to customers on a daily basis, multiple times a day. Once they see those interactions, then they realize like, hey, you know what? And I always make sure that I'm like, I have an open door policy. I don't care if it's personal, business, whatever it is. Please come talk to me, because if you can do it wrong, I've probably done it wrong at least twice. So therefore, I have some experience, right? And I'm willing to listen to where you're at in this situation.
There was a saying I heard a couple of years ago that success in life is a result of good judgment. Good judgment is the result of experience, and experience is the result of poor judgment. And it all kind of comes back to that. Shawn, looking out right now, what would you say today? How do you handle stress and pressure? Because look, I don't know a fixed ops director, service manager, parts manager, technician who doesn't have, some degree of that pressure and stress on them.
Well, the beautiful thing about having and building relationships is so I reach out to people that have more experience than me, that are smarter than me, that make more money than me. All of these things, people that I look up to, right? I look up to as mentors or people that can help me. So I have a good network of people. The real honest answer is not much bothers me because what we worry about yesterday probably won't matter. I frame it, does it matter 3 months from now, right? If it doesn't matter 3 months from now, I'm not renting headspace to it.
What motivates you?
My family, the family, I feel a sense of duty to take care of my family in the way that my father took care of his family, right? I had a really, really shining example. And then again, my people, right? The people, I have a sense of duty to everybody. I have 74 employees here between the two locations. Right. And I've got to be on point. There's days when I feel like crap. I don't feel like doing anything, or I just want to hide out. I can't be that. I don't have them days. Right. I have to be on point every day to set the pace for the team.
Yeah. You're the leader. The leader sets the pace. So, Shawn, here we are last week of January. And this is my last question, by the way. As you look out over the year ahead, we've had an interesting last couple of years, especially this last one. What do you see ahead? What's your forecast? What do you got a lot of peers watching today, looking up to you for your guidance, for your leadership, for your advice. What would you say? What would you recommend to the retail managers and leaders watching you today?
Well, I would say that with the way that the market went for the last 2 or 3 years during the pandemic era of people buying cars, and guess what? They're owners now because the way the market has corrected, right? So there's people that are very, what they call upside down in cars. So they're going to have no choice but to service and maintenance them. It's up to us to operate with honesty and integrity, but more importantly, drill down on the processes and the services that we're already paying for, that we're using. Make sure we're utilizing all of the tools at hand 100% to create the best employee experience, which in turn creates the best customer experience, right? It's going to be more important than ever to cultivate our employees and to elevate them in such a manner that they elevate everyone around them, which transcends the whole dealership environment, right? All 4 parts, used car sales, new car sales, parts and service, have to work together to make for a successful dealership. When people come in the door, they don't see Ted Ing's parts department. They don't see Ted's, used car sales. They see Ted Ing's automotive, right? I mean, it's just it's one store. So we have to think like that. And for years, it's always been a butting heads type of thing. And each department kind of fights each other. And I think we're successful for the future is making sure that it's one operation. That's going to be the key to success.
And how's the future look for fixed operations looking forward to this year?
It's going to be awesome. There's a lot of new products out there. You know, I'm a little bit of a wait and see kind of guy. You know, I like to master all the things we're already involved in you know, but there's a lot of nice things going on, right? I mean, I think the video inspection is going to become just a mainstay standard across all brands, all lines, no matter demographics or not. I see that's something we've already implemented it at one store, and I'm bringing it to the other one next month. And you know, the different devices like your UBIs and your traction, you know, those kind of devices that are, you know, analyzing the cars when they come in are going to become more and more prevalent because we found ways to cross use them like into the sales and service, both arena, both. It's not just for one or the other. So there's a lot of things that we're going to find ways to work smarter with and utilize this new technology and stuff.
Hey, Shawn, I look forward to checking back with you during this year and finding out how we're doing. And on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Shawn Butler, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate all you do. And you know, I love this industry and I'm always here. I'm available on LinkedIn. People reach out to me, you know, all the time. And I'm always happy to help if I can. If I can't, I'll find you somebody that can help you. I probably know a guy or a girl.
Shawn Butler, one of the great leaders in our fixed operations industry, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Brand yourself to win with our next speaker, McLain.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It is a great honor to introduce our Roundtable community to McLain. Brand yourself to win, the great marketing guru behind the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Michelle, welcome back to the conference.
Thank you. It's so great to be back here. You are too kind. This is always such an exciting event. So I'm
Michelle,
glad to be here.
I don't think people realize or know everything that you do. I'm not sure that everybody knows who you are. So if it's okay, take us back to the beginning. Who is Michelle McLain and what does she do?
Oh my goodness. I swear some days I don't even think I know everything that I do. I'm I'm kind of a jack of all trades in the branding world. But long story short, I came into the car industry in 2001 at 18 years old as a salesperson and kind of worked my way up through the ranks in sales, finance, management, the whole 9 yards. I spent about 13 years of my career with Subaru. And in 2014, I decided to take a gigantic leap of faith and said, hey, I'm doing all this branding and marketing that's cutting edge for the dealership I was at. And I decided I wanted to do it for every dealership in the country. And that kind of moved me into a new space of really just trying to do brand strategy and design and all the things to help pretty much every type of business. And so that's what I do. I like to refer to myself as someone who helps businesses and entrepreneurs brand themselves to win. And we do that through a variety of channels, creative content, strategy, all types of things. And the Roundtable just happens to be one of the biggest things that I do. It's my baby, and super, super proud to be a part of this.
And when you do, Michelle McLain, so I didn't really appreciate the importance of a brand until I met Michelle McLain. Tell us a little bit of the backstory. Why is it important to have a brand and establish that? And take our audience through that if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. You know, there's a saying, a quote by Jeff Bezos, and, you know, you can love or hate the guy if you will. But there's a saying that he says, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And that's such a poignant statement because that really kind of encompasses exactly what a brand is. A lot of people have a misconception that your brand is just what your logo is or your colors or things like that. But your brand is actually what is telling the story in creative about who you are and what you do, and most importantly, why people should be doing business with you. So when you're working towards creating a brand, it's really important that there's a lot of symmetry, that there's cohesiveness, and that it's telling the message to your audience of this is who I am, and this is why you should come and follow me, or why you should do business with me. And so when we create everything for the Roundtable, it's super important that we make sure that we're focused on exactly what our audience wants, that we're giving them the right information. But along that, we're also telling the story about Fixed Ops. We're telling the story about the Roundtable, and we're showing people exactly what it takes to build a winning brand. And we've done such an amazing job with that. We've grown so much. I mean, I remember back in, 2018, some of the initial content that we were putting out and putting together. And I even laugh at it myself because it's really been, I think, a learning process for both of us, right, Ted? We've kind of learned as we've gone along the way and seen what's worked and what doesn't. And we've changed some things up, and we're constantly looking to evolve and grow this event. So it's been super fun getting to be alongside and do that with you.
So, Michelle, do you think having that brand has been a contributing factor, let's say, to the success of this event and to others as well?
110%. The thing with brands is that you have to be consistent, right? Consistency is key in anything that you do. And, unfortunately, I see it all across the board, that people are putting out content, whether it's inspiration and motivation, education, whatever that looks like. And it's always different every single time that I see something. And that's not to say that you can't switch things up from time to time and, you can't do some unique things. But generally speaking, as a business, you want to make sure that you really have something that's clean, something that's consistent, and that's something that when people see a piece of your content, they automatically resonate that with you, your brand, your story, and they know exactly what they're going to get every single time that they engage with a piece of your content, they do business with you, or they happen to come to an event that you're going to be speaking at.
So you and I have had to pivot a couple times the last few years. This started off Fixed Ops Roundtable as a physical event, and a couple of years ago that changed. What do you think helps set the Roundtable apart from other industry events, whether they are in person or whether they're in a virtual world like this?
I think the biggest differentiating factor of our event versus others, number one, it's just the people. We see so many of the same faces, and not that I don't love all of those faces. There's a general if you will, influencer, I guess, group of us that are in automotive. We have an amazing tribe of people. But the one thing that I noticed a lot of the in-person events and even virtual is that it's always the same people. It's the same speakers. It's the same speeches. It's the same thing that you've learned at 10 other events. And when you come to the roundtable, you are going to get such a wide variety, a diverse array of people, all the way from retail to the fixed op side. You're going to get managers, you're going to get OEMs, you're going to get all different types of people with all different backgrounds. And so I really think that the people that not only speak at our event, but the people that attend our event is really what makes it what it is. And we really do try to go the extra mile to have fun with it, to encourage people to come out with their personalities, you know, with all of the different themes. I remember when we first started, we really didn't have any themes. It was from number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4.
Isn't that a theme?
Right. And, you know, I think when COVID hit, you know, we had one of two directions that we could take. We could have either stopped the event altogether, or we had to make a massive shift. And although neither one of us knew exactly what was going to happen by switching to a virtual event, I really believe that this is what's taken us off. From the comfort of their own home, people now are dressing up in Roaring 20s outfits and cowboy hats, and people's personalities are really getting the opportunity to shine through. In fact, some people like myself or, you know, others in the automotive industry that maybe have not had the experience or the know-how or wherewithal to take an actual stage in person. Maybe they're not prepared for that.
Sure.
But this gives them the opportunity to shine. It lets them be themselves. It lets their personality come through. And it's just, it's a whole group of camaraderie. And I think that's what makes our event so amazing.
So I want you to think back, Michelle, the last couple of years. Is there a memorable moment that stands out to you in roundtable history that you'd want to share with the audience today?
You know, there have been so many incredible moments throughout the years, and I can't really say that there's like one pinpointed event. But I will say, I think probably the most memorable thing for me was when we did the Viva Las Vegas. And it was funny because you and I were still kind of getting to know one another. I was learning you, you were learning me, and we were learning kind of how to work with one another. And I remember bringing up the idea, and I said, Ted, I think we should theme this event and call it Viva Las Vegas. And you went, like, gasp. You're like, wait a minute. No, this is, you know.
Oh, heavens, no.
I said, Ted, just trust me on this. I said, it's going to be fun. It's going to bring a lot more of an audience. And I think that was really the pivotal moment, really with shifting the roundtable. Just kind of when I started to learn and understand how you thought and what you visualized, and then you understood how my creative brain worked, that it never stopped. When those two things met a crossroads, everything changed for the roundtable event. And it was monumental.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Okay, so we've been now, Michelle, in this virtual space for some time, since that event that you just mentioned. And a lot of people think, you know, virtual event, I didn't have maybe the best experience at some other virtual event. Will I be able to network and collaborate, you know, among the other attendees and speakers, you know, or is that prohibited here? Or, you know, give us a little insight on how that works.
You know, I think that's probably one of the coolest things about the roundtable is, number one, the networking opportunities are just immense. We always have our chat open and you're able to actually connect. And what I love about it is that our speakers are engaged just as much as our audience. Nobody's really off limits. And I think sometimes that when you end up, you know, at these live conferences, there are people that you want to connect with. Maybe they're bigger names, things like that. And either A, you're kind of afraid, you're intimidated. You're like, oh, I don't know this person. I'm afraid to just walk up and shake their hand. But the really cool thing about all the speakers, it doesn't matter whether, you know, it's a Brian Benstock or a Tully Williams or a Ted Ings. Like, it doesn't matter who is speaking. They're just as equally engaged. And I think it's leveled the playing field for the networking opportunities. And I can tell you from personal experience, this event has literally taken my career in directions I never could have imagined. It has grown my network in unbelievable ways. It has helped me to rub elbows with some of the finest, best, and brightest minds in the automotive space, all the way from GMs and owners, even to some celebrities. And I don't think that you get that at a whole lot of other events. So we really try to keep this intimate. Even though we have lots of people that show up, the people that show up, like I said, both our speakers and our audience, everybody's on the same mission to move forward. As I say, we rise together. And it really just kind of opens the doors and opportunities for you to connect with some of those people that maybe you wouldn't have had the opportunity to connect with prior to.
We're speaking today to Michelle McLain. Brand yourself to win. She is a branding expert, and she is the marketing guru behind the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Michelle, in looking back, okay, over the last several events, what kind of feedback have you heard from attendees at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, or people within the industry who may not have attended but saw some of the marketing that you have helped create? What have you heard?
I think the greatest testament to our success is when somebody posts something on social media, right? Or somebody is changing their profile picture to one of the frames that I've created, or they're sharing one of their speaker promos that we've, come up with. And the feedback is just, it's always been tremendous. Like I said, people love the event, not just because of the networking opportunities, not because of all of the knowledge and the amazing speakers that we bring, but the biggest amount of feedback that I've gotten from this event is, Michelle, this was fun. Every time I've been to another event, whether it's a virtual or an in-person event, I think people are kind of just so used to that regimentation of speaker, then we have lunch, and speaker, and then we do this, or speaker, and then, we have our cocktail hour, whatever it is. And while that's all fine and good, and it's fun on its own level, I think having the ability, like I said, for people to just let their personalities shine through here, really, they have a fantastic time when they come to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's different. It's unique. We have a different theme for every event, which allows people, to participate in that as much or as little as they would like. But what I've really found is that since we've been doing these themed events, the amount of people that are showing up and they're posting their photos in their cowboy hats, or they're posting their photos like we did the Roaring 20s with their boas. Like, for me personally, that Roaring 20s event was so much fun because it allowed me to, in some respect, kind of step out of myself and be something or someone else for a day.
Yes.
And we don't get that a lot in automotive, right? We're either in the dealership or we're behind the scenes or we're working on projects. And I just think that this gives people an opportunity just to really have a whole lot of fun with it and make it whatever they're going to make it. And it's been amazing. It really has.
And there's a lot of groups I've noticed that get together, maybe not all conferences like this, that are not quite as positive as we are and forward looking, and that also strikes me, and how we've been able to keep the tone of the conversation in such a positive light and helping people build that career, reestablish a career in some cases, and really expand, their own sites. And it's been really amazing to watch also the transformation in some people in, just a couple years, what they've done on the roundtable. So, you
ditch the click when you come here. And I that's like the one thing I tell people, like I said, I'm very fortunate and blessed. I've always been one of those people that I don't care what your title is. I was kind of raised to treat the CEO and the janitor exactly the same. And that's just my philosophy. I bleed it. But there are certain cliques within this industry, and I think that can make it really intimidating for some people. Like I said, when you go to an in-person event, maybe you're brand new to the industry and you don't know some of these people, or you're intimidated or afraid to approach them. And here, we don't do cliques. It's literally just one group of amazing people all working towards the common goal of being successful, wanting to share their experience and their insights. And each person that comes here genuinely has a heart to try and help other people. And I think that's so incredibly important, especially in this day and age. Take even automotive out of it. It's just a group of people who genuinely want to see you win. I want to see you win. Ted wants to see you win. Every speaker that comes here wants to see you win. And I can't tell you how many wins I've personally taken from the roundtable and how many other wins I've seen other people walk away with, the connections, the opportunities. A lot of people have been placed in careers because they've shown up to this event that they never would have had an opportunity to.
That's right.
it's pretty incredible, and it makes an incredible impact on our community and our world, and it's unbelievable to be a part of.
Oh, we're very grateful to Michelle. If you're watching today, and you don't have to be a dealer, okay? If you want to build your own brand, whether it's your company, whether it's you in person, there's nobody better than Michelle McLain to help you do that. The Fixed Ops Roundtable is a testament to that. She has helped build this brand and take it to entirely new heights. You know, looking forward, Michelle, I can't imagine where the next couple months and beyond, years, where this is going to go, and you know what that brand will include.
I have so many ideas, and I think, Ted, that's really why I love working with you so much. And it's not to discount any client that I have. I mean, I bleed what I do, and I will do pretty much anything that I can to help somebody rise. But the thing is with you, the reason I think we work so incredibly well together is because at some point, like I said, I think it was that Viva Las Vegas event, you kind of came to the understanding and said, okay, I just have to let her do her thing, right? And I think that's honestly where a lot of people fall short. I think it's where a lot of people hold themselves back. I believe that it was Steve Jobs that said, we have to hire the best people that we can find, and then we have to get out of their way. And so often I find that people will come to me and they say, I want to build a brand, or I have this idea. I don't know where to start. I don't know what the vision looks like. And I'm really intentional when I'm working with somebody in trying to create something that's going to put them in the light. And when you hire somebody, that's probably the biggest piece of advice I could give to anyone. If you're looking to grow your brand, you need to find somebody that knows how to grow a brand, someone who's done it, they've grown a brand, and then just let them do their thing. And it's not to say you can't give creative feedback. Ted and I go back and forth all the time sometimes on some of the creative content, the fonts, I mean, anything that we do. But at the end of the day, I think that's probably why you and I work so well together, is because I've taken the time to understand and know what it is that you expect, what it is that your vision is, what you like, what you don't like. And on the other side of that, you've given me the creative freedom and control to take everything that I've learned from you and then build that out creatively. And it just works.
Everybody reach out to Michelle, MichelleMcLain.com. She will help you build your brand. She's got a great recommendation from everybody here at the Roundtable. So, Michelle, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, thank you for all that you do for our industry.
Well, thank you. It's truly an honor and pleasure to be a part of this incredible event, and I can't wait to see where we go in the future with it.
Michelle McLain, everybody, brand yourself to win. Visit her at MichelleMcLain.com. Michelle McLain here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
and Technology Clinic panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Today, we would like to talk about the pros of doing service and technology clinics from the unique point of view of some great panelists who are here with us today. This panel, by the way, is the brainchild of Marco Zwanenburg, to whom we're all indebted, technician extraordinaire. Quickly introduce the panel. Everyone will know Shawn Kingrey. Shawn, thank you for being with us today. Cindy Reynolds, great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable community. Coralee Zueff is here with us today, and welcome. And of course, Shawn Parrett from Mercedes-Benz of Farmington, part of the Schomp Automotive Group. Marco, give us a little bit of the color, some of the backstory on service and technology clinics, because you and I have talked about this for quite a while.
Yes, we have that. And for me, it's always been a great way to lift the veil of mystery and secrecy of the service department. It actually gives the customer a good glimpse on what is going on actually in fixed ops, explain to them how things are done, and bring them back into the shop as we look at their car, as we hook up the computer to it, and just show them what the car is all about. This, to me, brings so much value and trust in the relationship with your customer that you just cannot get with anything else. It really personalizes the service, and it puts faces to the names that they would only see on their paperwork, besides meeting with the advisors, of course, face to face. So it's, to me, it's a PR stunt. It's a very good way to build a great rapport with your customers, to build trust, to put value in what you offer, and to just keep these customers coming, build retention with these customers.
Shawn Kingrey, here we have a technician telling us about the benefits of having a clinic for the customers. And you remember that we did a lot of these in the past that may have stopped the last 2 or 3 years, but there's a certain need to be able to engage the customer.
There is, and I think the angle for Marco even goes a step further, where we all know the service clinics. How many after delivery, and again, we're coming from the fixed ops side, how many of the clients come in 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, their first service visit after ownership, and don't have a clue how to operate their vehicle, and we're actually delivering the vehicle on their first service? If you call it what it is, half of them don't know what their navigation is. Half of them don't even know they have navigation at that point. Because again, we go back to the time of sale. I'm not picking on the variable side, but the client's under the ether. Listen, they've been there all day. It's a Saturday. It's a long day. They had to wait an hour and a half for finance. You know, those darn finance people. They had to wait for finance forever, okay? And when it comes to delivery, they just want to go home. They've been there all day. The kids have been there all day. They haven't eaten. And next thing you know, they're on the service drive asking, hey, what does this mean? Or, hey, what does this mean? Or, hey, what does this mean? And the salesperson's nowhere to be found. And what do? We grab the Marcos of the world and we bring them out, and we make them show how to do a delivery or how the things work. Because quite frankly, they know best, because they're the ones that fix them. The service advisors don't know any better. I'm not picking on the advisors, but that's not what we train them to do. So when we miss that step at time of delivery, it's the Marcos of the world, which is kind of where, quite frankly, as we're talking about, the clinics come into play, where you bring a manager, you bring a writer, you bring a general manager, and you bring a technician out. And as Marco said, you show it all. Here's what it is. Here's who we are. And here's how your vehicle really works.
Love it. Cindy, Shawn's right. There's so much technology now in these vehicles that, I took delivery of a new vehicle recently. And, by the way, I did get introduced to a large part of that technology, but nowhere near what I need. And one part they left out, they didn't introduce me to the service department, Cindy. So what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on it is that we have to even take a step back, and we need to work with our team to answer a question. And I think the most important question to start with is why should anyone use your service department over any other repair facility? And I think that's just a good place to start. You can discern from that, from your team, what they're thinking, get the ideas. I think it gives you an opportunity to create a well thought out written plan that's part of a customer journey through their entire life cycle through service. And this clinic for the technology is, and the service part is just part of that journey. And how many times does that fit in, and when does it fit in during the life cycle? I think it's also an opportunity, like you're saying, to showcase several things, you know, to showcase your team. You should have someone from your leadership team. You should have people from your sales. It should be even an owner involved. And there should be a divided time. You should have a group time, but you should also break out into individual one-on-one time and have someone, and that includes everyone there, is paired with someone that can give them the information they're looking for. If they don't know, you go to the person there that does, that can help you with that. And then I think, you know, it's showcasing. It's a time to showcase your team. It's a time to showcase their vehicle. It's a time to showcase, you know, like, why should someone do service with you, but what can they expect during that experience? You know, an example would be if they are going to be someone that waits for service, then let them know what they can expect. Do you have, you know, space set up that if it's someone that needs to do a Zoom meeting while they're there, do you have private space for them to go and do that Zoom meeting? What if something happens? If they're there, it's going to take longer. Set the expectation of what will happen. Like, what are your alternatives if they're going to be there longer than expected and they have other needs that need to be met? And then it's also an opportunity, you know, to showcase your technology that you're paying money for that creates efficiencies in your service. You know, show them what you do use that creates, you know, transparency, creates the convenience for the customer. So I think there's so many things that we can do with a service and technology clinic. I think we have to be more creative. It can't be what we've always done in the past. Mm-hmm. I think it has to be some new ideas. It can't just be serve me food, give me a drink, I'm out the door. That was a waste of my time. I mean, it's kind of like, if you could send it to me in an email, then send it to me in a Zoom, but you know, a recorded session, but I really would love some hands-on while I'm there.
I love it, Cindy. Shawn, Parrett, you've got a lot of experience on the Mercedes side with these, and you know, let's talk frankly about you know, what it is and what's really needed out in the market.
Yeah, well, I've seen how it's changed over the years. It used to be that they would bring the vehicle in, and you actually have a clinic. For a lot of our customers, the first time they were seeing their vehicle up in the air, you know, they could see things underneath, you know, take a look at different things they didn't only hear about. And I think, unfortunately, it's shifted now where it's marketed as a way to win back customers, but in the wrong way. Whereas you send invites out, you promise, you know, free gift or whatever it could be, and you bring a customer in that you haven't seen in a while, rather than the customers that's been coming to your dealership, you know, regularly. And then you market it as, we'll get your vehicle, we'll look over it, let you know anything, and we'll give you a percentage off. And I think sometimes it sounds good in the planning stages, but then you have the customer that they haven't been to you for a few years. So they found another place to get their vehicle serviced. And now you're welcoming them back and basically saying to them, okay, here's all your repairs you need. Here's your free gift, and here's, you know, repairs, but we'll give you some money off. And I think it just goes wrong because now they already had a bad taste in their mouth for whatever reason. They're trying to come back, and now you're basically, you know, shoving them away again. And I think that's, like I said, it's about the marketing rather than welcoming me in. Don't even have to try to sell them something, that you're showing them about their vehicle. You know, you're putting the car in there, you're showing them, hey, here's how old brake pads look, here's how aftermarket parts look. And I think that's what, as a lot of our franchises are doing, they're getting away from just taking care of the customer, and they're basically looking for a way to make money. Like, that's only, if you don't make money that day or upsell so many vehicles, it was a failure, rather than, hey, we've seen, you know, 20 or 30 customers we haven't seen in a few years. And I think they need to take out the money aspect of it and look at a success of how many people you got there rather than your upsells.
Shawn, Parrett, just go a step further. You serve a luxury franchise there with Mercedes-Benz. I know you're a Mercedes customer as well. Yeah. You lead a big parts operation there, Shawn. Do Mercedes customers, do they all know everything about the vehicle at time of delivery, or are there opportunities there?
No, they don't. And that's the biggest thing, is like, there's so many different things, you know, like to go over, you just can't go over with active delivery after a car sale. And it's just, there's so many things that's going back. We had a car show here a few months ago, and people were just hanging around. And one of the guys said, "Hey, we'd love to see your facility." I said, "No problem at all. I'll give you a tour." And we must have got about 30 or 40 people, and they were so amazed by everything from the alignment machine to some of the stuff we use as technicians. And I think that's things where if you had a customer on a service clinic and say, "Look, this is the reason our labor rate is what it is because of these are the type of tools we have. This is the newest technology we're using to diagnose your vehicles." That builds value. And we all know that's what we sell. We sell value.
I love it. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Coralee, what's your perspective?
I think now is the perfect time to bring back the service and technology clinics because, you know, for the past so many years, 2 years, people haven't been able to do anything as much. So having an exciting event to go to right off the bat, you know, people have the FOMO or fear of missing out, right? For starters there. And vehicles now, like you guys have mentioned, have so much technology on them. You know, people might be used to checking their oil with a dipstick, right? And aren't used to, it doesn't have one anymore. So just sharing those features to somebody and clearing up that confusion is a big thing. I know on my own vehicle, just figuring out like how to put the 2 keys to each person who has one. And recently I changed my battery. So it's gone from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and I have no idea how to do that on my own. I don't want to read the instruction, right? I'd much rather come and socialize with somebody, have that one-on-one time, and have somebody show me and explain to me how to do it, as opposed to, you know, reading through my manual. And at Christmas time, there was a big thing with customers coming in because some people have one of everything and you just don't know what to get them, right? So I had spouses coming in ordering keys because they're like, "Oh, my husband lost one key, but he doesn't want to order another one. So that's a Christmas present." Then another one was floor mats. So it's the perfect time to, you know, figure out what they need. And it might be a present, as well as if they bought their vehicle in the spring, coming into wintertime now, they might not have purchased the snow tires that they need. So it's the perfect opportunity to just start talking about that.
Shawn Kingrey, you lead Kaiser Automotive Group, 7 dealerships there in Wisconsin. And previously, you oversaw a much bigger group with 20-some stores. Talk to us about the last couple of years, and even prior to that, you know, in terms of these types of clinics and, you know, the need for engaging customers. Sure.
And, you know, and again, coming from Florida, where, by the way, COVID didn't exist, and it didn't, and you come to Wisconsin where it did exist and there's still masks here. I think we used it as an excuse to get away from them. To be very candid, we did. We used it as a crutch not to do them. I don't excuse that, but we did. And now that you come to it, I think the 2 things we're forgetting, and I'm going to refer back to one of our old panels here in a second, but is, first of all, autonomous vehicles, guys. I try not to use words I can't spell, but they're here. They're coming. They're not going anywhere. You talk about technology and training. There are clients that, including myself, being north of 50 now, who autonomous vehicles are foreign. We didn't know what they were, but they're coming. And Ted and Marco, you and I have been on a lot of panels together talking about what is EV going to do to the service business. Guys, you're looking for a reason to bring the client back to service because we're going to lose those because maintenance is going away. Back to Coralee's conversation, checking dipsticks. There are no more dipsticks to check. They're going away. Now this gives you another reason to bring a client in on the clinic to show them how EV works, because it is a completely different thing. And that's a whole different angle to probably than where maybe Marco wanted this panel to go. But clinics and EV, it's a real thing. It's coming. It's here. They're already here. Ted, we talk about the lightning all the time. I mean, it's a regular conversation.
Yes.
I know we're not all like Tully and being out in California where it's going to be mandated soon, but guys, if we don't look at it, we're going to be behind the times ourselves. And if we don't do it, somebody else will. But Ted, to answer your question, it is different. I do think that being in a college town in Madison, Wisconsin, you have an educated person here. Okay, you do. It's a very hardcore educated, it's a college-based town, a lot of professors. Being in Florida, which was heavy military, and also a lot of senior citizens. It's a whole different market, but it doesn't change the outcome. Everybody still wants to know how their vehicles work. And again, we're all under the ether. We just want to go home with our brand new car, and we don't listen to half of it. And you know, who on this panel still has an owner's manual for those that have them that are still wrapped in plastic in the glove box? Or who's even aware that anymore they don't give owner's manuals? They're available on a drive. I mean, you don't even know because you don't open them up. To Coralee's point, you don't know how to change it from Fahrenheit to Celsius. because you don't want to read and you don't want to look.
Marco, I'm listening to what Shawn Parrett just said a few minutes ago about showing the customers who wanted to come in and take a look, and they weren't there for that purpose, but he ended up with quite a few people looking at things like the alignment machine. I had David Boyle here, Marco, earlier today, and I think he would be proud to have customers looking at that equipment and realizing and building value in that, Marco.
Exactly. Value is a big thing. And I don't know, Shawn, if you remember a couple of years back when Mercedes-Benz did the Customer One Action Tour, when value was one of the main points that we're trying to bring. Customers will pay, but they have to know the value. How can we bring value? By being on the phone or using any kind of social media or any kind of email or service to show them pictures or videos? Or can you actually walk them through the store and show them, have a vehicle on the alignment machine with the heads hooked up and the readings going? Have them see how miraculously beams through the sky, measure the vehicle. They will be blown away. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be so in-depth that people just don't know what you're talking about. Keep it simple, but seeing is believing. Let them see a technician's toolbox, for example. Most people are just flabbergasted by the amount of tools that technicians need nowadays to fix these vehicles. Have one or two vehicles hooked up to a scan tool and show them what they can do. And to Shawn's point, how many people have not seen their car from down below? To have the car hanging up in the air and just seeing what an exhaust looks like nowadays with all the sensors and wires and dampeners and valves in it. Just show them what their vehicle is like. And then when you have to call the customer somewhere down the line, it's like, sorry, Mr. X, but it's taking us a little bit more time to diagnose your vehicle. Now to go like, well, yeah, I kind of remember. It's not like, oh, there's the engine, there's the tailpipe. No, there's a space shuttle in between. So people can actually put thought to what is going on in the service department. So these are all great and excellent points. And to Shawn's point, yes, EVs are coming, and it's about time that we as a collective in the automotive industry stop being reactive and start being proactive. Why is it that when a new model gets launched, we have the whole showroom is decked out, there's catering, there's this, we have all these people are invited to come look at this one new model, which they can't even buy yet, but here it is because it's doing a cross-country tour. Why can we not do this for fixed ops, where you can get what you need right now? Make us the show horse, because after all, fixed op pays the bills.
Marco, you had to twist my arm 3.5 years ago to do the very first Fixed Ops Roundtable. And I know you remember the discussions because you and I had lunch in Florida, and I said, I'm not sure if anybody would show up if there'd be interest in this kind of fixed ops. And now here, here you are, and of course we've seen what happened. Here we are talking about, again, something new, and I think there's great value in what we're discussing today.
Absolutely, Ted. And this keeps on growing. Like I said, was it last night during the live show, that what we needed was a peer-to-peer, all within the industry, just a bunch of people from all different ranks in the fixed ops department, talking to each other, with each other, bringing ideas out in the open, be open to ideas and be fresh-minded about how everything works, how we can help each other. And this is what we have been doing from day one. You remember your office in New York City?
It was a sardine can that day.
Absolutely. And it's grown exponentially since. And you, as much as anyone else, can tell that how much this was needed and how much we keep on growing.
So, Cindy, you know, here we are talking about fixed ops. And I would say over the last, I don't know, 7, 8, maybe a little bit more years, this advanced driver assistance, ADAS, has really come into its own. And there's so much now on the car that we don't know as employees at the dealership. Maybe Marco knows, okay, but as a consumer, I don't know. But I'm flabbergasted, Cindy, at a lot of the stuff now that's on that vehicle, and it's almost like like my cell phone, right? You know, on wheels, because it's so advanced. And Cindy, there's just so much that constantly needs to be explained. And then, Cindy, we've got these over-the-air updates that have started now and are going to be a huge part of the business, Cindy Reynolds.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I love the idea, because I think what we're talking about here is, you know, just a whole new revolution of the car, and having service and technology panels to help us explain and educate people is going to be more important than ever. You know, we have all different types of age groups. You know, we see the commercials on television about how a car will parallel park for us. It's going to brake for us. I mean, it does all of these things. I mean, when you think about it, in some ways you almost feel scared. I mean, it's like, so it's like, why would you not have the dealership be the first place that you actually test those things? Like, before you actually go out and do them, that should be part of what a service and technology clinic helps you do. If you're uncomfortable, you've never done it before, you're not even sure how to do it, like, help me do that. Show me how that works. Get me comfortable with it, so that I can be a proponent with other people about it. You know, I think the whole point of all of these things, and the goal is ultimately to build trust and to be a partner with your customers through the life cycle of their ownership, as well as the choice for their next purchase. It's all the small details of the things that we're discussing tonight that makes that happen. It's not some one big event. It's over time. And again, it has to be viewed as a customer journey. I have no idea how some of the technology works. You know, I think we've all sat here and admitted that. So help us. Like, that's what we're asking dealerships to do, is help us. And I think that this will help, you know, the client, you know, your clientele base out there understand, which is dealerships, how important and critical this is to the future, not only of the life of the dealership, but the customer journey and their return and their recommendations that they make to others about where they should buy a car, because, hey, they actually helped me do that. Like they helped me see and do the parallel parking, or they showed me how the car brakes on its own. So that, because otherwise you're apprehensive about it. So I think this is a great beginning, a great starting point, and hopefully this will be a panel that's included for some time to come, because I think it's going to evolve.
I think back to the Automax technicians panel, the very first time out, and maybe even the second time out, and how that has grown tremendously. Shawn, Parrett, a little secret here at the Roundtable, and it's no secret that we have a couple sponsors, more than a few, right, on the Roundtable. But when they, come at the first time or the second time and they say, Ted, what should I talk about? How should I talk about my product? How should I sell my product? The secret that I tell them is, don't sell. Don't do any selling. Make it educational, make it interesting, and make it informational, Shawn, Parrett. And you know what? The very, very best presenters at the Roundtable I have found over the years, they're not selling, okay? They're not selling at all. And I think there's some of the big names, right? The Les Silvers and the John Travers and many, many more. They don't sell. They're giving good information. And Shawn, Parrett, I think in a setting like this for customers, for service and technology, that would go a long way.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is, like, everybody knows if they're being sold or not.
Yeah.
They know that in the first few minutes. It doesn't matter if it's in this field or whatever. I mean, we all have the bad thing about the service providers and the used car salesman. We all have that feeling. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, like, you have to show that you're there for the person. Why are we doing this? We are there. We, as fixed ops, we're here to make money, but we're also here to basically help the customer get the best value out of their car. And I think that's what people lost. They're trying to take advantage, the customers sometimes, where it's like, the reason we're doing this stuff is to prolong the life of your vehicle. And I think us as employees, that's what we need the customer to understand.
Yeah, I love it. And at Shomp, the Shomp organization, there's a lot of things different and a lot of things right. And I know, like, for example, on the sales side, they became that one price dealer many years ago. And then that one person handling the whole transaction. And then, in the more recent past, doing the entire sale in 1 hour. All right. And, Shomp is known for that. And I see something like this as a differentiator as well for groups such as yours and many others as well. So.
Yeah, I noticed that with Shawn Kingrey. He's talking about, like, the kids being there all day, waiting on a finance guy for an hour and a half. And we don't have that. We, the salesperson or client advisor takes it from beginning to end. It takes about an hour, unless a snag comes up. I mean, fortunately, we just don't have that here. Everybody's in and out.
That is refreshing and amazing. And Coralee, that's one of the things that all of us have experienced on both sides of, of the time it takes the transaction. All right. And, here's a great opportunity, to showcase. I think that was the word that I think some of you used earlier, the service and parts, Coralee.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking back to Marco saying to bring people in the shop and have a look under their vehicle. I remember the first time I invited a lady to come have a look under her vehicle, and usually her husband handled the vehicle maintenance. However, he wasn't able to come in, so she did. So when I invited her in, her face lit up because it was actually something on her bucket list to have a look and see what was underneath her vehicle. She was so excited. So I'll never forget that, how excited to see that on a customer's face. And thinking now too, in my area where I am, catalytic converter theft is a huge thing right now. We just had somebody go through the town. They've gone through the dealerships and stealing them. And most people don't know what a catalytic converter is. So to invite them in to have a look under a vehicle and be like, this is where it lives. This is what it does. And that's what they're stealing. So just to put a picture to the part that they're seeing in the newspaper and online would be a huge thing. That would just be amazing for someone.
Marco, there's a lot of meat on the bone. Okay. With this topic, Marco.
Absolutely. I think we've barely scratched the surface on this.
I'm going to, and I hadn't prepared the panel for this today, but I want to go around the panel, just 30 seconds for everybody and give you a few minutes to think about it. What's one thing you could recommend to our audience who may want to get involved in some kind of a service technology clinic? One thing they could consider doing over the next few months to, get started in this type of thing. And while you're thinking about that, real quick, Marco, coming back to you, on the Mercedes side, you had a lot of experience in doing this, just as Shawn Parrett did as well. What prompted you, Marco, to bring this back up now, so much time later?
Because if one thing has shown us over the past few years is that people are dying for personal, interpersonal communication. Not in front of a screen, no Zoom calls, no phone calls, no text messages, no nothing. We are all social bunch. We like to get together. We like to be personal. So what better way to re-spark and reignite the interest in your vehicle and the dealership by being personal with service clinics?
I love it. Who'd like to take a shot at that? One thing that you'd recommend to the audience that we could do?
I'll take the lead on that one, Ted. First to start, I think you start with the old dog. I mean, listen, us old car guys, as we call ourselves now, and I'm there now, by the way. As I say, I'm in Q4 of my career. We all know what works. We've done this before. We've seen this before. Yeah. And one thing I'm going to back into, and it'll be 30 seconds, I promise, Ted, is, we talk about the service walk. We've talked about it during 100 of your sessions, Ted. Yeah. Guys, let's not fool ourselves. The service walks don't happen anymore. Right. They should. We talk about it, but they don't really happen. And this is a great opportunity to bridge that gap. So back to your question, Ted, I think you get with the old dogs, those of us that have done it. We teach them how to do it. Take the lead on the first one so that everybody else feels, because nobody's going to be comfortable the first time they do it. I promise you. But after you do it the first time, it becomes fun, especially when that client comes in next time and asks you by name. Ask for you by name. That's the key.
I love it. Very strong. Who'd like to take another stab at that?
I can go next. I was just thinking about service advisors should start documenting a list of stuff that they're asked repeatedly. Like, where is the key drop box? The drive. Like, some people, are notorious for stopping at the garage instead of completely driving in. Things that they're repeating constantly. What time do you close at? How long does a service take? So all these things that are taking up time and, you might be feeling annoyed about answering, make a list. And this would be the perfect time to go over it. You say it once and then you have, your audience of 10, 20, 30 people. Now they know, and that's going to save you time in the future.
I love it. Great recommendation. Very strong, Coralee. Good. Cindy and Shawn, who'd like to go?
I think I would go back to what I shared. I think it's just so important that people answer the question, why should people use your service over any other repair facility, and involve your team? I mean, it's just so important to get that feedback, and it's so important for everyone to understand how each other thinks. And then, you know, to have like, what's your next immediate step after the service and technology clinic? You know, I would love it if I received a handwritten note that was just a thank you from the person that I engaged with one-on-one. And so there's so many different ways you could take this. So that's what I would offer up in 30 seconds.
Very strong, Cindy. I love it. Super. Shawn, Parrett.
I think more or less you have to do something recurring. I think rather than doing it once every other year, something where a lot of places are doing these clinics, I think you should do something recurring, maybe once a quarter, once a month, where you go over certain things like Coralee mentioned. What are the top things that they're having questions about in the service drive? It's like Home Depot or those places like that. Like every month they have some kind of fix-it class. Well, why not have that for your dealership, where once a month you have a class going over something, and people can come every month and come once in a while, but people actually can look forward to it.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Marco, I'm coming to you last, and I got to ask you the proverbial question. What would Marco do? What do you think?
Well, what Marco would do, what worked really well when we had the service clinics at Mercedes here, I ran it in the shop side. The first one or two was all hands on deck. Didn't work out that well. What I ended up doing was a hand-picked bunch of technicians. The technicians that were good with communicating, that were good in taking their knowledge and transferring it to the customers, that were patient, and that were not in it for the sales for the next week, that were, their work is their business card. They're proud of what they're doing. They're proud of sharing their knowledge. That's the kind of guys that you want to have talking to your customers. Love it.
We'll have to leave it there, everybody. And Marco, I think we're going to have to come back with a round two on this.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I love it. So you see what happens when we go have lunch together, all right? Look at that, Marco, right?
Exactly.
All right.
Funny, we haven't done that since, Ted. Imagine what will happen next.
Might as well do that next. That's right. Everybody, I want to thank the entire panel. Thank you for being here. First time out at the Service and Technology Clinic panel. Shawn Kingrey, Cindy Reynolds, Shawn Parrett, Coralee Zueff, and Marco Zwanenburg. Everybody, the Service and Technology Clinic panel here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Our next speaker, Lindsay from BG Products, is here to tell us all about the people side of Partners Beyond Products.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Lindsay is the Major Accounts Sales Manager at BG Products, Partners Beyond Products, a great friend of the Fixed Ops community. We want to welcome him back. Don, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, great to be back. Great to join you. Appreciate all you do in the industry.
Don, we're very grateful to you and to BG Products as well for all you do. We had Zach Fox here the last couple days. Wow, we learned a lot about what Partners Beyond Products means, and Zach did a great job taking us through all that, Don.
Zach is a great counterpart, great friend of the BG family, and does great work in the field. Very knowledgeable, young and up-and-comer, and really great guy.
And before that, we got the tour from Darren in Kansas. For those who don't know of the facilities that BG has got, Don, simply amazing. And, you know, Zach also told us about the acquisition on the transportation side that BG's been involved with now to deliver those products. And, you know, again, congratulations to you on all the success BG's having.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it.
All right. So For those who don't know, Don, take us a little bit through your background and, tell us some of the things that you've done and what you do today for BG.
Absolutely. So going back, I've always been around retail. Retail's been part of my life as a very young, at 13 years old. I was unpacking paper from trailers. My grandmother started a retail store, Hallmark and office furnishings. So I've been selling pens since I was 14, and got my start into retail. And I did that through many years. More than half my life was in major retail, large department stores in Canada, managing those. And then in 2008, an opportunity came to be introduced to the BG family. And so I partnered and bought in with the Oregon distributorship. And 2008 was an interesting time to be in the automotive industry, but we learned that industry, brought different principles to the industry that for our distributorship. And then in 2020, I sold my interest in that. And in 2021, BG Corporate said, "Hey, would you join us and give us a hand with the Lithia?" Lithia for me has been fun to watch. We had one of their first stores back in 2013, and to see what they've grown to within the industry, both personally and professionally, has been fun to watch. And so my role now is supporting BG Corporate and supporting BG Corporate or Lithia. And we continue to grow with them. I think we started with the one store back in 2013, and we're at 136. So it's been a fun ride, Ted.
Wow. Don, you and I speak frequently, and I know you travel throughout the country. And you visit with a lot of retailers. What are some of the challenges that you see now? Here we are in early 2023, end of January. What are some of the things that you're seeing on the challenging side in the retail automotive industry?
Sure, no surprises. I mean, we're all aware of the new car shortages and chip shortages and parts back orders. I mean, every dealership's challenged on those fronts. But what I see is the big challenge and the big opportunity, because anytime there's a challenge, there's a big opportunity. It's people, and people. Whether in leadership, whether in advisors, parts, or technicians, the acquisition of talent and people to deliver the service has been a challenge and will continue to be a challenge. We've got new blood coming into the industry, people that have never been in the automotive industry. So there's a whole new culture and dynamic being created. Technician shortages, all those things are challenging for the industry. But anytime there's a challenge, there's great opportunity. And some of these people are succeeding extremely well in the midst of this.
I agree. And like you said, there is great opportunity. Don, in your opinion, what's going to be critical to meet these challenges? We're hearing a lot of things here at the Roundtable. We're hearing about dealership culture. We're hearing about process. What do you think we're going to need to do? I
think it's, again, I think there's certain principles within any organization, retail, manufacturing, engineering, doesn't matter what it is. And the principles don't change. Those principles, leadership, good process, good training, and accountability. But the principles have always been there. That's not new. I think where the efficacy is the edge in execution and the consistency to which we apply those principles. And within that, maybe just to elaborate a little bit, those fundamental principles, the ones that really succeed, are committed to executing. They find the talent in leadership. I mean, leadership for many is the ability to cast vision. Where are we going? What's our niche in the market? Where do we fit? Lithia has done a very good job. Many times, some people say silently, but they're arriving on the scene. They have a very strong mission, 5-year plan they're committed to. Them as an example, but many others. We work with large partners in our space. And it's the ability to cast that vision, know where you're going, know what your strengths are, and to what you mentioned, create a culture with a new employee base, many who aren't used to the car culture, And so it's their ability to cast that vision, adapt to change. The process piece is, and since our space is automotive maintenance, it's committed to the education of the advisor and to the customer, right? And so Zach dove into a lot of the tools that we have to support that process. And I try to keep it simple at a high level. We ask these advisors to, deal with complex compliance with OEMs, like certain things done in certain ways. There's complexity. There's, in any given brand, there's multiple models, multiple makes, multiple drivetrains, multiple engines. And so every vehicle takes something a little bit different. And then the consistency aspect. And I know, as Zach would have spoken to well, we have tools to support that.
BG products now over 50 years, first 50 years behind us now. We're on our next. No small feat, okay? I mean, you've got a great reach. You've got over 800 people in the field, a great distributor network, a great name, Don. And we had a panel recently here at this event with all technicians, and we talked about that technician shortage, and almost to a person, they all talked about having a great leader to work for. And that was a big part of the culture. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on some of those needs? Drill down a little bit on that leadership and the process and the training that it's going to be needed here to take us the rest of the way.
Absolutely. And I don't think we can underestimate that. Any organization looks for that leader to take charge, to set the direction, to set the course. And that's what I've loved about BG, is that, what we bring to the table, and we'll get further down to that, as far as innovation, manufacturing, training, technology, knowing your space, knowing what you're good at, and then setting a course to, in leadership, often, I think we, in the fluid world, we talk about 40-to-1 mixes, and that makes your lawnmower run really well. But in leadership, it's the ability to cast vision, create that environment where people want to learn, and then create an accountability that once we set those processes in place, that you can celebrate, that you can reward, it's contagious. It's an environment, it's a culture. And I see a lot of work being done in the field to create that dynamic, encouraging, and it's exciting to be a part of.
And you really are partners beyond products, because it's so much more. Zach shared with us and went through in some level of detail a lot of the tools that many people don't realize that BG's got out there for the retailer, including things such as BG University. And you want to just, he gave us the vision deep down on partners beyond products. Don, take us through a little bit more of what partners beyond products means.
Absolutely. So when we work, what I see in the field as I travel, there are many, what we talked about as far as principles and the execution of those principles is no small thing within an organization. And what we've seen is there's so many moving parts within a dealership, whether it's the variable and the F&I and the fixed. And so creating that environment is one thing. I think because of the complexities, a lot of groups are assessing and looking at partnering, strategic partners who are good in their space and can offer value add. And I know a lot of our national partners and even smaller local partners, they look for a strategic partner that they can align with in order to leverage the best of the best. And that's one of the things that we look for as a win-win-win. It's good for our customer, it's good for BG, and it's good for the end customer, because you get the opportunity. And you talked about BG University, right? It's an investment. If anybody that's been to BG has seen the investment of BG into their own people to develop, to learn, to create a culture of training, sales enablement tools. And so we're excited with that investment because it cascades out to the field. And I think there's a lot of assessing. We're fortunate, Ted. We've seen the industry grow. We've grown with this. When you look at a new car dealership survey, BG's at 50% of within all of the dealerships in the U.S. Wow. 10,000 strong that use BG globally. I think it's 50,000. Right. So assessing strategic partnerships, and I think a lot of them would say, what I listen for is a lot of them would say it's your products, but it's your support and training. And it's the investment in that aspect that gives us the opportunity to strategically partner with large automotive groups, whether it's the AutoNations, the Lithias, the Penske's, all of those groups. We have the ability, and I think they look for that strategic piece to it.
We're speaking today to Don Lindsay of BG Products, Partners Beyond Products. Don, over the last year, we're very grateful to all the ambassadors that BG has had here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, from people within the BG network, including your retailers. I can think of Bob Tasca, no better ambassador.
Great ambassador.
The last two events addressing our technicians about while the automotive retail dealership space is a great place to get involved. At 2023, Don, last question for today. We see a changing retail environment. There's some uncertainty out there on the sales side, inventories, challenges that we've had with not having vehicles, changing now, used car markets, interest rates. What opportunities do you see ahead for 2023, and in particular in fixed operations, Don?
It is, I will say candidly, and in many discussions that I have the privilege of talking with throughout the country, in a dealership, it is absolutely what I call the fixed focus. Fixed absorption. Dealerships are focused. They know the challenges on the variable side. All eyes are turning to the fixed side. It is an absolutely great time to be on the fixed side of the service business. And we always like to say, Partners Beyond Product, it takes more than chemistry to be an industry leader in our space. And so many things within BG, it's innovation, it's manufacturing, it's training, it's technology. And within BG, we don't have to go to a third party in some of that. We provide, whether it's our equipment, our technology, our training, transportation, that sounds like Zach had spoke to. Yeah. We are 800 strong in the field to take and deliver and support dealerships within the and so we're here to support the industry on the maintenance side of things. It's an exciting time. We're seeing great growth within the company, unprecedented growth, and we're excited to be a part of that. And so we see lots of bright future ahead. There's lots of runway on the service side of things, and with the partnerships that we've been able to forge and those that are continuing. It's an exciting time, Ted. And as you well know, and your support in the industry and your knowledge in the industry, we just appreciate the partnership with the Fixed Table, yourself, and your entire crew.
Don, we're very grateful to you and for all you do for our retailers, the support, the consistency that you mentioned. Don, are you going to be later this week at NADA?
Absolutely. We have the opportunity there. We're down the main aisle. I think booth 1421, and we'll have snippets of all of the things that we've talked about and Zach had talked about in order to support it. It's a great time to be in the industry. It's an exciting time, challenging, but exciting for what's happening, and happy to be part of it, Ted.
To our audience, if you want to reach out to one of the great leaders at BG Products, Don Lindsay will be at NADA later this week. BG always has a great booth. If you're not going to NADA, bgprod.com on the web, reach out to them there. If you're not a BG dealer, please take a look at it, because there is none better in the industry. And Don, we're very honored to have you and BG with us here today.
Appreciate it, Ted. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Don Lindsay, everybody, from BG Products, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Winning cowboys gotta know how to walk the walk. Join us for the customer retention panel up next.
Hold your horses, partner. We're just getting warmed up. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Wild West event.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This panel is about walking the walk for customer retention. According to a Harvard Business School study, an increase in customer retention by as little as 5% can lead to increased profits of 25 to 95%. So, how do you encourage your customers to service at your dealership and return to you the next time they're ready to make a purchase? Our distinguished panel here today, I'll introduce them, is Mike Vogel, the Fixed Ops coach, Stephen Hill, Service Director at I-10 Toyota, John Frazier, the Service Director at Paulding Chrysler Jeep Dodge, Joe Clementi, Vice President of Service Operations at Mobility Works, and Robert Sebestyen, the founder of GravitationalBusiness.com. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This is a great topic. Thank you for being here. And John, if it's okay, I'll start the discussion off with you. I know we've talked frequently over the years about training and the importance of doing that. John, how do we train our service staff to better retain our customers? What would you say?
Man, this is such a wide topic. There's lots of things to cover. I believe it all boils down to teaching your team about relationships. You can't have retention without a relationship. And what we've really been trying to focus on here at our store is looking beyond the transaction and making it relationship based. And what we need to do with our service drive team is be sure that we're selling, for example, the good with the bad. Are we selling the green along with the red? Are we outlining the maintenance that the customer needs every time that they come in? Are we selling, or are we assisting the customer with buying what we're selling through payment plans, through, prioritizing the needs of their vehicle? Are we giving them a reason to come back? And I think all those things, when you bundle it all up, it ties back to 3 points that I tend to hit very hard and tend to repeat. And that's hiring, training, and leading. And without those 3 things, you can't form a team that's going to form relationships with your customers. For example, hiring, we have to hire properly. As a whole, I think the automotive business sucks at hiring. We tend to put anybody that can tie a shoe or fog a mirror in some of the most difficult positions in our dealership, service advising being one of them. If you look at the retail companies that are out there that excel in customer retention, they have some of the best hiring programs, some of the best ways to vet these employees or these people that they're going to put in front of their customers. And I think it's about hiring the right people for the position. I remember reading a book, You Can't Send a Duck to Eagle School, and it talked about how the vice president at Southwest Airlines was asked, how do you get all these nice people? And she simply replies with, we just hire nice people. And I believe that's at the heart of it all. That's at the heart of customer retention, is hiring the right people and then training them to form relationships with the customers.
John, I think you're singing our language, and Joe Clementi, I know he's singing your language as well when I hear dealership culture. What are your thoughts on that, Joe? And in particular, how does that culture create a connection to customer loyalty?
Yeah, I think this is a very detailed question. I'm going to approach this in typical Coach Joe fashion and really kind of talk about organizational structure first, right? As we talk about culture, we have to understand the connection. So obsessing over strategy is simply overrated. When you focus on culture, you get an immediate impact on your balance sheet. So organizational culture is a collection of values, principles, expectations, and practices for everybody on the team. Think of it as a collection of traits that make your company what it is. So for better or worse, culture is leadership, and they are intrinsically linked. Leaders can shape the culture both consciously and subconsciously through their behaviors. And sometimes that's with unintended consequences. So are you clear about what the language your culture is communicating to your employees and your customers? That's the big question. So Ted mentioned earlier a study that shows that engaged employees drive 21 to 91% more in profitability and a 10% increase in loyalty. But when I get into a room with a group of leaders today talking about culture, Ted, it feels like I'm speaking a different language. Culture is the heartbeat of your dealership. It's alive, it's energy. You can feel the pulse, right? Externally, the heart appears to be really strong, but a closer look internally and the arteries are hardening. Your culture is the lifeline and a power plant. We call this magnetic energy. Your environment is either positively charged or it's negatively draining. The energy is palpable both internally and externally. A negatively charged environment depletes people, right? It saps the focus from the organization. This magnetic force is the blood pumping through the heart of your dealership. The wrong culture, a diluted culture, or no culture at all, it's still a culture nonetheless, but it might not be the expectations you're trying to manifest. The agenda, focus, and priorities set by management are lacking purpose. The funnels are clogged with inefficiencies and political posturing. So the lesson here related to culture is simple. Creating an environment where people feel empowered to think, to innovate through the idea of process and ideation. Culture is what the company values. And if it isn't the employee and the customer, they'll go somewhere else. Changing the optics of how you actually see your operations provides perspective for whether culture is thriving or just simply surviving. A good culture motivates employees. It defines a brand that customers can respect, makes employees happy, right? Which drives customers to be happy. It's customer-centered metrics and helps keep the right people, everybody, on the bus. Your culture exists whether it's understood or not, Ted. This market culture prioritizes profitability. Everything is valuated with a bottom line in mind, and there are several degrees of separation between employees and leadership. Because there's a number tied to every decision, every project, every position, it's difficult for employees to engage in meaningful work and their professional purpose. Connection to culture at the human level boils down to 4 basic values: balance, purpose, recognition, and contribution. An important and overlooked aspect of culture is, despite its subliminal message, its nature, people are effectively hardwired to respond instinctively. It acts like a silent language, a heartbeat, if you will. When leaders align with the culture, it drives organizational outcomes. That's why it's important by selecting and developing leaders for the future requires a forward-looking culture. Sustained results depend on building a culture full of self-disciplined people who take disciplined action fanatically. Effective cultures create systems with constraints, but they give people the autonomy and the responsibility to work within that framework. An enduring culture, one of discipline, is powered by people who act in the company's best interest without strict dictums by leadership. Good cultures have self-disciplined people who are willing to go to extreme lengths to fulfill their responsibilities. Listen, the people in good cultures tend to be almost fanatical in the pursuit of greatness. That's culture. That's a connection to loyalty.
You know, Steve Hill, late November, we had one of your peers on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It was John Melashenko, the Chief Operating Officer of the Germain Automotive Group. he's in Ohio, and they've of course got dealerships, I think, in 4 or 5 states. And he talked about culture, and he said, it's the longer term play, and it's a phrase that's used a whole lot, but he goes, in the end, it's the right thing, all right, because it's going to deliver the biggest ROI. And I know that OEMs are constantly looking at customer retention and ways to improve that. Steve, what do you think manufacturers, you represent Toyota there as well, but as a general rule, what do you think OEMs need to focus on to promote that customer retention at dealerships?
Stop chasing the metric. We keep having KPIs that are put out there that, oh, we need to hit this, we need to hit that. No, everything, it's manipulatable. And I'm sorry, but a 995 oil change, it doesn't mean you're retaining a customer. And as the gentleman were saying, it is about culture. It's about having that buy-in. And if you truly have retention, well, then you go into being that place that they're going to go to regardless, that one-stop shop, because the relationship is built. And it comes down to a whole nother end of it. Employee satisfaction translates to customer satisfaction. And if you have developed a system where the buy-in is there by your employees, like Joe was talking about, now that is going to transfer over into your customers, your guests, feeling that same level of satisfaction with doing business with you. I share with my people continuously, you really think about the basics of what we do. We're the one that's there to help them with the decisions on their vehicle. So when Mrs. Jones comes in with Starbucks for her advisor or a Christmas gift at the end of the year, we took a situation where most people are not happy to come in the first place. Now, on top of spending money with you, they're going out of their way to spend more of their hard-earned money to get you something personal. That's a relationship. That's retention. Anything short of that, and sometimes we're just getting caught up in the chasing the metrics game.
You're right.
And if the OEMs were to step back a little bit more from having us chasing a number, then the manipulation and all of that can die down, and we can get back to the basics. Build that relationship with your people, change the culture at home, and that is going to transfer over into your guests, realizing there's something special here. There's a special group of people that truly care about me, and they care about my car, and they will make you that one-stop shop.
John Frazier, you're also in dealership, right? And you're just listening to what Steve Hill is saying here about chasing those KPIs, that the OEMs put out there. I think all of us can relate to that. John, talk to us, because I asked you a little bit earlier about training and of course, customer retention. How does all this relate? What do you think on some of the things that, for example, that Joe and Steve are saying?
I totally agree. It's about, chasing the right things. It's about culture. It's about consistency. And we can't just do it strong for 1 or 2 or 3 days and then just let it go. Once you've made it past hiring and putting the right people in place, training's got to be a daily thing. Every single day, we got to figure out how we can be better than we were the day before. The same as those companies that excel at customer experience and the customer retention, they have a great hiring program. They also, at their core, have an even better training program. Training is a staple for companies that lead in those arenas. When it comes to keeping customers coming back, there's no better way to do that than putting your customers in front of people that are properly trained, that know what to do. And I believe one of the areas or shortcomings that we have in the automotive industry, there's a lot of guys that sit this chair that can't take the customer through the entire service process. And I'm not saying as a service director that I got to be on the drive writing up customers all day long, every single day, but I need to be able to have that knowledge from start to finish, from the appointment to the follow-up, so that I can teach my team how to do that. I need to know it like the back of my hand. I mean, who do you want training your new advisors? Do you want to do that, or do you want the guy that's sitting over there with the bad habits you're trying to figure out how to get rid of? Some of the best advisors that you'll ever have on your service drive have never been in the business. I've got 2 of them right now, as a matter of fact. And I want to be the guy that's leading those people, that's training them, that's showing them how the customers need to be treated on every visit, and how to teach them to look beyond just the numbers. And we do that by pay plan. I think some of our pay plans are counteractive to building relationships with customers. And I think once you've done all that, you've got them hired and you got them trained, back to what Joe was saying about culture, you've got to lead and you've got to be out there in front of these people, building that culture every single day. And you got to lead them to win. This isn't just about service directing, pointing and doing this and do that and do this. No, it's getting out beside them. I've always said, and I'll always say, if you want your team to stand behind you, you've got to stand beside them. You got to get out there and be right there in the trenches with them. At some of the, when crisis hits, when they have the victories and they sold the big ticket, or they got a good survey, or whatever the case may be, you've got to build that relationship and that culture with your team. Working on the service drive, it's not glamorous. It's for me, there's a sense of accomplishment, but it's hard. It's tough work. And you got to be able to lead the team every day to win. One of the things we practice every day in the mornings, we meet 10 minutes before work. We go over the work in process. We look at the ROs that are on hold for parts. What are the ETAs, so we can communicate. And then we look at the top 10 oldest tickets. What's going on with those? Have we dropped the ball? And that's how we communicate with our customers throughout the day. And we circle around back in the afternoon and we see what got done. And so it's like I said, are you hiring properly? Are you training passionately? And are you leading perpetually? And I chose those 3 characterizing words about those 3 actions very carefully. Properly means to do something correctly. Passionately means to do it in a way that shows feelings or strong beliefs. And perpetually means to do it in a way that never ends, that's constant, never changes, it's never ending. And I believe in order to train people to retain your customers, you got to hire correctly, and you got to be available. You got to be out there in front of them every single day.
John, the passion comes through. Robert, I'm looking at this panel, right? And I'm saying to myself, oh my gosh, I remember a little over 3 years ago, we were all in Los Angeles. Most everybody on this panel was out there at that early Fixed Ops Roundtable. Robert, you were the first speaker, I believe, of that morning. And here we are talking about customer retention and, just hearing some of the things that Joe and Steve and John are sharing. Robert, what do you believe service departments need to focus on in order to improve their customer retention?
It's so good so far. I'm enjoying this conversation a lot. So Steve was saying KPIs. Let's not we're focusing on the wrong KPIs, and the manufacturers are. And John was saying you have to get involved and not necessarily be every minute on the drive, but yes, it's a service manager, service director's job to evaluate every point in the customer journey. And I think there's one KPI that is critical, very important. And that KPI to me is complete care. Did we care completely? Did we care to welcome the customer in a way that makes them feel like they arrived home, like they're in the right place? When the customer starts saying, you know what, I've got an impossible request. I know this is like crazy. I need an oil change like next Saturday, because everywhere else they were told 3 weeks or whatever. And then you teach your staff to reassure them and say, hey, you're in the right place. Come on. Don't be afraid to have requests for us, right? So it's funny that you would mention that Harvard Business Review research earlier, because I've got that on the wall behind me. That's the fully connected customer is 52% more profitable than a customer that's highly satisfied. So the numbers are pretty staggering, and everybody can research the numbers for their brand. But the customer journey is going from being unconnected to being highly satisfied, to perceiving that, yes, you are a great dealership, you're a great service department, but I'm still not fully connected if I haven't made a connection with the staff, if the process wasn't easy. Are we easy to do business with? So look at behind me, I've got my family here. Let's see if we can see them.
Yep.
My family in our wagon, right?
See the wagons, yes.
Service is all about caring for the family and caring for their wagon, you know, making sure that that wagon stays safe for their trips. And a lot of times people travel, especially now with extended service intervals. We do travel as much as if we were driving from the East Coast to the West Coast in between service intervals. So we should be bold in encouraging people to come back in for at least a checkup in between. That's caring. And most people don't even expect that at no charge. So as far as retention, as far as loyalty goes, complete care, but we should evaluate each stage of the customer journey. Are we creating frustration? So if we are creating feelings of frustration, disappointment, being cheated, then we're driving the customer away. They're sliding down on the loyalty scale. If we're creating feelings, emotions, and we're talking about getting emotionally connected, that's what this Harvard Business Review article said, that the emotionally connected customer will spend more and obviously will stay with you for a lifetime. They'll buy more cars from you. But with each interaction that is positive, they go closer to being fully connected and making that decision that they will be your customer for life. And by the way, reviews still matter a lot. A lot of times, if you have good reviews, and customers will come in already ready to do business with you for life, you just have to be careful not to screw it up. So then they put you on a pedestal. If you've achieved that status, it's a wonderful status to have when you had your customers review you over and over, and on the service side, they talk highly about you. They'll come in and first time, they've never been to your service drive. They drive into the service drive. If they're greeted properly, they already know they're in the right place. Now it's up to us to make sure we live up to our own reputation. So complete care is the name of the game for me.
I love it. Everybody, we're talking today to a panel of passionate experts on walking the walk for customer retention. That includes Robert Sebestyen, Joe Clementi, Steve Hill, and John Frazier, and Mike Vogel. Mike is the fixed ops coach. Mike, I got to come to you. You've seen a lot of stores, as all of us have on this panel. Why do you think that some dealerships fail at customer retention? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's many reasons. I think everybody on this panel already have covered the step number one. Step number one is you have to hire correctly and you have to build the right culture. Because if you don't have step one, I don't think you can ever get to step two correctly or consistently. You're never going to build a strong customer retention, a strong customer base. But let's assume for a second that you've got a dealership that's hired the right people, they've got the right culture, they're putting the right processes in place. People that know me have heard my keywords over the years, and not to be like a broken record, but TVC, trust, value, and convenience. Okay. We need to build trust with every customer. We need to show value in what we're talking to them about, and we need to be as convenient as possible. Simple words. However, those words mean different things to different people. And that's where you have to do the relationship building. If you don't know what who your customers are and what's important to them, how can you possibly focus on those three words? You've got to build that relationship from day one. And then once you do build that relationship, there has to be a sense of consistency. And I know John brought up the word consistency, and I'm 100% behind that. If we're not creating a consistent experience, for instance, let's say, for example, the 6 of us are service advisors on one service drive. Okay. And the customer comes in, visit 1 and sees Ted, has a great experience. They go to Joe, visit 2, great experience. Then they come visit 3 and Mike Vogel helps him. Mike Vogel's having an off day and he's just got a bad attitude, and boom, there it goes out the window. You know, we're done with it. Sure. The other thing is, I'm a big believer in trying to create the wow factor when customers come in. And again, the wow factor means different things to different people. And wowing a customer doesn't necessarily mean you got to do something outrageously expensive or anything along those lines. It could be something as simple as under-promising and over-delivering. When I was a service advisor, granted it was a long time ago, I always packed my estimates slightly so that I came out under when they came to pick up their car. I always packed my time estimates so that I met my promised times whenever possible. And then I also, that gave a break to my technicians, because if they came to me and say, hey, Mike, I need the car for an extra 30 minutes. Can we do it? Yeah, let me call the customer, but go ahead and get it done. Meanwhile, in my head, I know I'm still okay. I mean, it could be something as stupid as that can make a big difference. But if you're not doing trust, focusing on trust, value, convenience, if you're not trying to shoot for the wow factor, and then finally, when I was running stores, my end game was not about customer satisfaction. It wasn't about customer retention. It was about creating customer advocates, because the word on the street is so, so important. And wow, today it's even more important, you know, with the power of social media, whether it's true statements that are on social media or bad statements, you've got to have your customer advocates out there that are cheerleaders for your dealership, that are telling as many people as possible the reasons to do with it. And then finally, just to wrap it up, I'd like to say the big thorn in my side for me with too many car dealerships is there's too much focus on the numbers and not on the customer experience. They always put, oh, RO count's down. Okay, let's raise our effective labor rate. Let's raise our gross profit percentage. Not let's fix the problem. Why is our RO count stagnant, or why is our RO count going backwards? Let's fix the reason for that. Not figure out how we're going to keep the numbers the same. You know, fixing the numbers, it's just going to chase off more customers. And now you got this vicious cycle you're spinning round and round and round. It's just craziness. So I don't think there's anything rocket science that any of us are talking about today. The bigger question for me, and why we're calling this the walk in the walk, is I think most dealerships know what should be done. I think not enough of them do what needs to be done on a consistent basis.
Yeah, love that consistency. And Mike, I don't think you can talk about trust, value, convenience enough. All right. Thank you for the reminder of that. Last question for everybody. We'll make it a lightning round. I'll start with Mike, come back to Robert, over to Steve Hill, then Joe Clementi, and John, I'll have you bring it home. Mike, as we look out over this new year, here we are at the end of January 2023. Here we are. I think customer retention, as I believe all of us feel, is going to be at the top of the list, or certainly near the very top of the list. What's something you can recommend, if not one thing, for our dealer audience here today that we need to focus on over the next 11 months through the balance of this year? Mike, I'll start with you.
I would have to say it's listen. That would be my key takeaway. Listen to both your customers and what they're looking for, and listen to your team and what they feel. You know, as leaders, sometimes we rush to judgment and we try to fix everything ourselves. But the reality is, the more you have your team involved, that see the day-to-day issues that they're dealt with, the more successful you're going to be in resolving any kind of issues that come up day-to-day, month-to-month, week-to-week, year-to-year, whatever it might be. And then, you know, it goes back to relationship building. Knowing your customers and listening is going to be your biggest advocate for growing your business long-term. And that's, for me, you shouldn't be looking at short-term results. You need to look at long-term. What does the long-term look for your dealership, and how are you going to get there? The only way you're going to get there is building those customer relationships.
Great advice, Mike. Listen, Robert, Sebestyen, one thing you could recommend to our audience looking out over the balance of this new year, 2023?
Well, I'd say 10x your greeting. So learn how to greet customers correctly. Recently, I visited 10 car dealership service departments. Out of the 10, one service department, a young lady greeted me in a way that I said, I want to do business with that lady. She's going to be my service advisor. Every other service department, everybody heads down. And even when they noticed me, they still did not get too excited to just greet and welcome. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to be that excited like that lady. That's her style. But a decision in your heart, make a decision in your heart that you're going to welcome people just like you would welcome the most loved person in your life. If they showed up, if you didn't see grandma in 2 years, and all of a sudden she shows up after being locked up for COVID, how would you greet her and welcome her? Hey, grandma, so nice to see you. And that's how I say welcome the customers. When you do that up front and offer your name, always use your name. Find out the customer's name, use their name, but always use your name, even if you have a name tag, because something happens in our brains, an instant connection. When I offer you my name at the introduction, I've seen people light up and say, hey, Robert, it's so nice to meet you. And then you can go into a conversation about, is it your first time? If you know they're a first-time customer, did you move to town just recently, or whatever the case might be, but then you can connect a little bit with the customer. And everything is easier after you make an instant connection. Plus, if it's a customer who's bringing a complaint, but you made it a point to greet them anyways, that way it's going to be so much easier, and you can reassure them, I'm here for you, we're here for you, we're on your side, we're going to take care of you.
Great advice, Robert. And it speaks to the consistency that all of you are mentioning as well. Steve Hill, looking out over 2023, what would you recommend to our audience?
Invest in your people. Invest in your people, and they're going to invest in the relationship. Once upon a time, I worked for Mike Vogel. That was a long time ago, but I learned a lot of valuable stuff. He invested in me, and I, in turn, am investing in my people. Whether it's the young man or young woman that's the first time they're going off to any sort of training, or it's the one or two that you see as possibly being in management in the next few years. Having that time, seeing them being able to feel that somebody's investing in them, their attitude, their approach to taking care of your guests is that much more important. And the cycle just keeps on going. So if we invest in our people, they're going to keep investing in our guests, and we just keep this whole relationship going.
I can see the dividends that it is paying still to this day, Steve. So great advice. Joe Clementi, one thing you'd recommend to our audience looking out over this new year?
I was going to use the word invest, but I'll say empower, right? Your power plant is where it's at. It's the people and processes that deliver for the client. And as everybody's talking about training, right? Where do we practice training? In front of the audience? Or do we practice in an environment that is conducive, right? When we talk about investing in the PowerPoint or the power plan, if you will, it is all about people and process. And in the end, the client gets all the value from that investment in people and process. So I'd say diversify your platform. Take the money you're spending on marketing, invest it in people.
Love it. John Frazier, got that beautiful saxophone behind you there. Bring it home, John.
Yeah. I say it's all about being proactive. With the way the industry's gone the past couple of years, I believe the front of the house possibly has created some trust issues with our customers. The impending change with EVs coming our way, we need to start managing and leading proactively rather than reactively. And I think that's what a lot of dealers get hung up on, is they wait until the fire breaks out and it turns into a wildfire, rather than seeing the fire before it happens and knowing what to do and what to tackle it. I think it's this year, as we are chasing after retention, I believe it's about being proactive to increase our retention.
Great leaders on this panel, everybody. I want to invite everybody back. I don't think we had anywhere near enough time. Let's do it again at the next event. I want to thank our panel, Robert Sebestyen, Joe Clementi, Steve Hill, Mike Vogel, the fixed ops coach, and John Frazier for being a big part of what we're talking about today, the Walking the Walk for Customer Retention panel. Everybody, thank you so much for being here today. The Walking the Walk for Customer Retention panel here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody wants to be part of a bigger story. And to see something like this in such a big industry is a big accomplishment.
When I heard about Rapid Recon, I was like, man, that's ahead of its time. And now I feel like it's absolutely revolutionary. We are changing the automotive industry one dealership at a time.
Just about anybody can tell you that you are struggling or that you might have a bottleneck somewhere. But what do you do about that? Rapid Recon is the one software that unifies all the departments. You're going to go from chaos to organization.
Reconditioning is all about making a vehicle ready for sale. The whole idea of Rapid Recon is to take 15 days average to get these cars ready to sell and take it down to 3 to 5.
You can see the bottlenecks that we can eliminate. As a dealer, to be able to log into a website or your app on the phone and know precisely where each car is from all your dealerships, that's invaluable.
We can give the decision makers information that they need to make the decision immediately.
It's live. You can log into Rapid Recon and see exactly where you are. What it means is making decisions based on true information. It makes all the difference in the world.
What gets measured gets better over time, and Rapid Recon does that for us. There's nothing like that in the market.
I oversee 19 of our stores. We're processing 2,500 cars a month. You need technology to make it more effective and overall more profitable.
Rapid Recon is more than software. What's unique about Rapid Recon is the people that come with it.
One of the reasons why we're so good at this is because a lot of us did come out of the car industry.
The software is amazing and it's a tool, but we're not software people. We're car people.
And we know the pains that dealers are going through, not because we've been taught it, but because we've lived it.
We get so much praise for our customer service and how well we take care of our customers, and it's because we genuinely care.
They're not going through an automated system. When they call, it's a live person right there. Rapid Recon is just not the name of the company. Rapid means we got to be fast and accurate.
If you want to be as efficient as you possibly can, if you want to be as profitable as you can, you absolutely should have Rapid Recon as your system.
We're a small company, but we're going to change the whole industry.
I'm really excited about how the company's growing. I see us in more dealerships worldwide.
In 5 years, you're going to see that Rapid Recon is a must for every dealership.
We're making a big difference. We're changing this industry in a way that it's needed to change for a long time.
Howdy, partners. I reckon it's time to place your vote for the Best Practice Awards. Take a moment now to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the show. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to vote for the 5 speakers or panelists whom you think are the best and brightest speakers on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And don't forget, you can only vote once. Up next, we've got Sarah Vantine here to introduce a new partner to the Roundup, Nikki Risley.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. 2 of the great leaders in automotive retail are here with us today. They are Sarah Vantine, good friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and Nikki Risley, first time at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Sarah and Nikki, welcome to the conference.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Nikki, we've heard so much about you. Great honor to have you here with us. Sarah has been actually telling us a lot about you over several months. Sarah, maybe if you wouldn't mind, give us a little of the backstory.
Yes. So Nikki and I, and again, just to quickly summarize it, you know, when I was with the Scott Clark group out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Nikki and I met in that capacity. She is at Daytona, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, and also has an Alfa Romeo Maserati dealership. And we've stayed connected over the years. And of course, when I came on to Quantum 5, that has now been a great relationship where now I get to have even more interaction with Nikki. And it's been exciting to have my team now help support her stores in BDC as well.
Well, Nikki, congratulations. And, you know, as I said, great honor to have a leader in retail here with us at the event.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So give us some of your story. Tell us about you and, you know, tell us how you got where you are today.
Well, I was born into the business, I guess you could say. My dad is the dealer principal here. I started as a receptionist when I was 17. After my first job elsewhere in the hospitality industry, he wanted to make sure I worked elsewhere before coming to the dealership if that's what I desired. So that's what I did. And I started as a receptionist. I was appointment coordinator, set up the appointments, did follow-up calls, grew into a service advisor, and then made a weird jump to parts manager. And then I would say probably begrudgingly at first, took the service director position, was there for quite a bit, grew a really good team, and we had a lot of successes. Did gain the Maserati Alfa Romeo franchise in that time frame. And then I left, actually. I left and I went to Spectrum Reach and did advertising for them, mainly automotive, because that's what I know. I was not allowed to have my family's dealerships. My uncle also has a dealership as well. So not allowed, that's Spectrum's rules, not allowed to have them. But I was able to have some familiar stores. So that was cool. And that was nice to get an outside perspective or an additional perspective because those people were really welcoming. And I got to see, you know, different ways to do things and actually also give my input on what I think maybe they could do better just from an operations standpoint, not solely on advertising, which was cool. Then, yeah, just a few months ago, in August, actually, I decided to come back. I always knew I wanted to return to the automotive industry. I'm really passionate about it. It's also challenging, right? I think that automotive people are some of the most dynamic overcomers, right? I mean, they just don't take no for an answer, which I love. And so I would have probably delayed it a little bit more. My son just turned 1. And so ideally maybe 2 or 3, you know, I would have come back when he turned 2 or 3, but with the EV world, you know, coming fast, I knew that it would be better to come now, because I would have even more catching up to do, because I will tell you in the 2 or 3 years that I was gone, a lot changed. And so I had a lot of catching up to do, but it's been fun. It's been a journey. It's been fun. My time before I left, certainly the time I've spent since I've been back. So yeah, it's good stuff.
And I've seen your posts on social media. You've got that, as you just told us, that fixed operations background. You know, that's amazing. And, you know, Sarah and I have been talking for some time that's where we see a lot of the growth, you know, that's going to happen here in the next few years on the retail side. What are your thoughts about that, you know, based on what you see?
Well, you know, I think we just went through a case study, a real life case study on, you know, why fixed ops is so important. You know, inventory crunches, used car prices fluctuating, you know, they're at their highest, then they're not, then they're going down, then they're going back up, you know, but what remains consistent is that people need their car serviced, right? And they have options. They have options for competitive dealers. They have options with independent repair facilities for non-warranty work. So Recalls are always coming out to ensure the safety of vehicles for people. So yeah, fixed ops is important, and it's important that your dealership delivers a custom, personal, special, good experience, because they don't have to go to you. They have so many different options. But one thing is certain, you will always need service on your vehicles.
Sarah, Nikki talks about that passion and automotive retail. Sarah, you've got that as well. You spent a lot of time on the retail side. Talk to us, Sarah, about that passion and some of the things that you see that are common with yourself and Nikki.
Yes. So, and I think Nikki can speak to this too, but I think one of the most passionate pieces that I've loved about this industry has just been the opportunity. And especially, Nikki and I, just being women in automotive, that we have, we've seen, our representation is not sometimes consistent across organizations. And Nikki's organization is a great example. And there's many others that are part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable that have such amazing organizations with talent that spans, the age spectrum, the gender spectrum. And that's something that our customers notice too. And so that was also one of the biggest pieces when I made the jump from retail to Quantum in my position now. That was something that was so important to me when I made that transition, was finding a company that really cared about people and really cared about what they were changing in people's lives, the skills that they were equipping them with. And so having that kind of impact where you can see, somebody that's a 19-year-old kid that's just out of high school and they're getting involved in the car business and they're starting out their career journey, and being able to impact them so positively where they are moving up the ladder, they can see where they can go with their career. That's really cool. And then on the other end, the people that are heading towards retirement, having them find something new to learn and new skills to acquire as our customers change. I think that's been so telling. And Nikki, I'd love to get your thoughts too on that. Like what is, what have you been seeing?
Well, I would tell you, I think probably the biggest, it kind of makes me a little bit emotional. I think one of the most special things that you can do is influence the lives of others. And you can single-handedly, I feel, change the trajectory of someone's life. And we here have been able to do that several times. And it has been so completely rewarding because, it's not just even the individual. It's their families, it's their children. Sometimes people just need someone to believe in them, not to sound cliche, but that's really true. I'll give you an example, and I won't use this individual's name, but we created the BDC here recently, and we hired somebody who she was working 2 jobs, single mother of 2 children, a 15-year-old and a 7-year-old. And she was working from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., going home to sleep and take care of her children until 8 p.m., and then would work from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then it actually, really, she wouldn't get home until about 3. And then repeat for 6 days a week. The fact that she's been able to quit that second job and work with us and be there for her children and provide for her children. So monetarily and just be there in a time sense has been so rewarding. And she's so thankful. We're so thankful for her. She knocks it out of the park. And you would think that, you know, someone who works that hard, obviously that's a telltale sign of their work ethic. And so that's just an example that I could name many, many more. But, you know, with Stellantis, we are enrolled at the Degrees at Work program. So you get free college, which is huge. So people can continue their education and get their bachelor's and master's degrees. In fact, we have several people here that are currently working that have their master's degrees free, not reimbursement, free. So that helps people. It's just good. It's being able to care and love people and make them better. And in a sense, it makes you better because you also learn a lot of things along the way as well.
You know, Nikki, Sarah and I have had many discussions on a lot of the segments that we do, the panels. We always make it a point to have people from retail. And historically, as you know, no secret, right? It's been a male-dominated business. And we look at a lot of conferences, and we said, you know, strategically, we were going to make sure that women were very well represented on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, on the panels. And not just men, but men in retail and women in retail as well. You know, talk to us a little bit about that, because, you know, that's a whole different thing. Working in retail, what you just mentioned, the opportunities, I think I've heard it said it's the best kept secret in the United States, the retail automobile business. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different streams of revenue that you can capitalize on, or, you know, other word you can use, opportunities, right? There's always something that you can get better at or do better, make better. You know, women, I'll speak to the women portion of it. You know, we have a finance director who's a woman. Obviously, I was a service director. Now I'm COO. Our controller is a woman. You know, we have representation in the service drive. We actually just hired a woman to be a technician, and she is killing it. I mean, killing it. And that is just so cool to me. I love that. So yeah, I mean, I think that I think it just depends. So in the sales process, right, I think a lot of times people they let their guard kind of come down to seeing a more feminine presence. In the sales side, how many times, if you've been in retail or whatnot, you hear that women feel like that when they take their car into the service department, they're going to get taken advantage of, right? And so if you have people who look like you, then you're more comfortable. And so I think that that's huge. And I will tell you, my dad, the dealer principal, is a humongous proponent of having women in the dealership. Our Maserati Alfa Romeo service director is a woman. She started here as a receptionist. So yeah, we like to grow within, and we like to have women in positions to where they can lead people, because time and time again, men can do it well. We all know men can do it well, but we also have proven that women can do it well as also.
I love it. Very refreshing. Nikki, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I love your story. We want to see more of you and hear more. We have three, as Sarah knows, we have 3 more events coming up this year as well. And I invite you to come back. I know you're on a panel at this event as well, a really high-powered panel with your peers. And, you know, so proud and honored to have you with us. And, you know, one of the things that Sarah, you and I have talked about, you know, women in retail, and we've got to continue to, you know, to focus on that, because it's such a huge part. And to hear about female technicians, you know, you and I know Jeff Daniel as well up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I think he's got 4 female technicians, and, you know, it's just really refreshing to see, Sarah.
Absolutely, Ted. And it's been such an honor, Nikki, to be connected with you and to be able to collaborate on so many different things.
Likewise. Absolutely.
All right. You're down there in Florida. I see the palm trees. I'm jealous. Here here in January. And I know Nikki Risley, everybody on LinkedIn as well. Please follow her and reach out. And Nikki, great honor to have you here at the Roundtable today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Sarah Vantine, thank you so much for all you do for the industry. And Nikki, thank you as well. Sarah Vantine, everybody, and Nikki Risley here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Do you have a great product you want to get in front of auto dealers across the country, and specifically their fixed ops departments? You know, their service, parts, and body shop. For over 15 years, Fixed Ops Magazine has been putting service-related products like yours in front of franchise auto dealers across the country. There simply is no better way to reach every dealer in the USA all at once. Hi, I'm Ron, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, which is both a digital at fixedopsmag.com and print magazine that reaches out to over 38,000 subscribers who influence what products are purchased in the over 16,000 dealers across the country. Fixed Ops Magazine may even publish your article about a topic you are an expert and have a real passion for in this industry. Every article has the author's contact info so they can reach you. Write an article, run an ad, and an e-blast. We call that our bundle for success. You won't believe how great a deal it is. So to get started, call, text, or email me and I'll tell you more. We are 100% devoted to the franchise stores so we don't waste your time or money. We are laser focused on your prospects. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today. www.fixedopsmag.com. Ron at fixedopsmag.com, 714-803-5476. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today.
If your dealership is leaking profits and you don't know why, you need more than data. You need Vision AST. Vision AST is a single solution analytics platform engineered to uncover critical information from your DMS. Using real-time data to drive profit from every department is what we do. And with Vision AST, just log in on any device and your KPIs are right at your fingertips. You can't manage what you can't measure. Take control of your dealership's profits with Vision AST.
Please welcome Chris Martinez of Jackie Cooper Imports of Tulsa.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. When I grow up, I want to be a car salesperson. It's a fun book for children that has a great vibe and is crammed with colorful images that young kids will love. It is sure to become a favorite bedtime read that your child will want to hear again and again. Today, we have with us the author of that book, Chris Martinez, who is a best-selling author, and he's the platform director at Jackie Cooper Imports of Tulsa and a great friend of the retail fixed operations community. Chris, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you for having me on, Ted. I appreciate it.
Chris, I appreciate it as well, you being here. I saw earlier, maybe about 6 months ago or so, the book had come out, had just been released, and I saw you did a number of interviews, and I'm excited to talk about that and, you know, find out a little bit more behind Chris Martinez and why you wrote the book. I know you've got other books as well, but I really enjoy the fact that it's a children's book. And tell us a little bit about the background on that, backstory.
Well, you know, I read to my 5-year-old pretty much every day. And so when I was reading it, I was like, you know, that it seems like so simple that he should be able to write a children's book, right? I've written other books, and the children's book, I was thought, you know what, wouldn't it be cool if I could just read to my son and it'd be the book that I wrote about, right? And so I asked him, hey, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And of course, I didn't just ask my son, I asked my daughters. And my daughters, of course, they basically said they wanted to be, you know, sell cars like I did. And so that's why, you know, this little book, I think it pays a homage to my kids too, because if you look at, you know, I've got all 4 of my kids. I talk about all 4 of them here, and it's cool to see how I was able to get my whole family in this little book and have the illustrator come out and actually put all the pictures together and have all my family in the book. So what's like, let me just kind of show you this one right here. So it shows my whole family here, my little dogs right there. And so it's kind of neat, and it goes through a story about these kids that, I'm reading to, and we're asking about, what do they want to be when they grow up? And all of them on their own accord come up with the decision that when they grow up, they want to be car salespeople. So it's pretty cool little story, and that, not only have I've read to my kids, but they've taken it to their schools, and they've been read at schools. I know friends personally that have read them to their children, grandchildren, and just, kind of all over. That it's been a pretty fun little story.
I love the colors and the illustrations. Kudos to you. How did you find, the right people or the right person to do that?
It wasn't easy. It took time, right? Going back and forth, getting the exact pictures that I wanted. The illustrator had to, spend hours of just, conversations of what the storyline, how the storyline I wanted it to go. The different pictures that they came up with. I mean, it was a process for sure. It wasn't something that you could get done in a week, which, I've heard, if you find a really good illustrator, that's kind of what can happen. But I was blessed and fortunate enough to find the illustrator, Nadia, and she did a great job for me.
All right, now you're coming to us now. You're in the dealership, right?
Yes.
Platform director, Jackie Cooper Imports of Tulsa. Chris, one of the first questions that I know went through my mind is, how did you find the time to write a book, right? I mean, we're all pressed for time. How did you do it?
Well, it's easy, when and I say it's easy. It's painstaking, to be quite frank. The children's book was a lot easier for sure, but the other books that I've written, it takes a lot of time. It's oftentimes, I'll make a lot of notes on my cell phone, where I'll just kind of talk to text. Well, I might be on the way to, a different one of our stores. I'll say a quick note like, hey, I need to talk about X, Y, Z, and I kind of just formulates from there. And then once I get everything written out, I end up talking to my editor, and she helps me kind of put it all together. So it's a process, and I think some of the books one of the books that I've written, it took me a couple months, but there's been some of the books that I've written that have taken me a couple years. So it just kind of depends on the mood and how quickly I can get everything to paper.
All right, so I also have to ask you, when you grew up, when you were at this age, when you would have someone reading a book like this to you, what did you want to be when you grew up?
It's funny you say that. I always thought I was going to be an architect or an attorney. I thought maybe fashion would have been something that I might have gotten into. It was never car sales at all. I remember, it's funny, a friend of mine was joking to me. I was at a nightclub with him when I was like 20 years old. And I remember him joking with me and saying, man, you look like a car salesperson. And I looked at him like kind of offended. I was like, man, really? I mean, why would you say I look like a car salesperson? And it was funny. We got our jokes, but I mean, lo and behold, a couple years later, I made this a full career, and I've been doing it for 20 years now. So it's been pretty amazing career. I've been blessed to do it, and fortunate enough to work with a bunch of people that give me an opportunity to work for them and help people continue to keep growing.
And how did you find the car business? I imagine you may have started on the floor like I did as a salesperson.
Yeah.
How did you manage to break in and get started?
I started in Las Vegas at CarMax, and what's funny is my twin brother, they were about to open up a point in Las Vegas. It was like their maybe 30th location at the time, and my twin brother, he's a property manager, and they were trying to recruit him. I ended up moving to Vegas to see about working with my uncle in construction. I'm from El Paso. And my brother said, hey, instead of going to work for our uncle, why don't you go try this place they've been trying to recruit me? It's CarMax. And, you know, I thought it was the lip balm company. But he said they were looking for people in sales and service or customer service. And I said, you know what, I'll try it. And so I ended up going out there. And sure enough, I ended up, you know, talking to the guy. I said, hey, look, you know, you guys were trying to recruit my twin brother, but, you know, I'm the next best thing. And, you know, I'd be happy to, you know, interview for the position and see if you guys would accept me. And, you know, they ended up hiring me pretty quickly.
And how long after you were in the car business did you know this is what you wanted to do?
I think it was pretty quick. I mean, I got promoted relatively quickly when I was with CarMax. And ever since I was promoted, I felt like I felt like they had the company has a lot of conservative core values. And when I was going through that process, I was like, man, this is, you know, they were teaching you how to be, you know, on time, disciplined, and the managers and mentors that I had at those locations growing into the business helped me. And when I found out about, you know, a different lifestyle from when I grew up, I thought, you know what, this is a really good career. And so that's kind of how I stuck it out.
So Chris Martinez, you're innovative. You're running a dealership group. You're involved, in leading a lot of people there. And you've had time to just release this latest book that just came out in the summer of last year. When I grow up, I want to be a car salesperson. Chris, what were some of the other books that you wrote? You mentioned there's some others before you wrote this one.
You know, I've written The Rainmaker. I got them right here. So I've written the Rainmaker. It's the fundamentals of a car dealer's desk manager. And this one's just a quick little handy book to have for any desk manager. Digital Marketing Blueprint, Car Dealer's Guide to Sell More Cars. The Drive to 30. This is what I wrote about when, you know, I used to sell cars and make over $20,000 a month selling cars. And so I thought, you know what here was the blueprint on what that took. Like, and then this right here, Driving Sales, what it takes to sell 1,000 cars a month. And that's, you know, we helped a store go from 150 cars a month to over 1,000 cars a month. And then this one, The Unfair Advantage, just basically marketing principles that explode the growth of any dealership. So and then of course this one right here.
Chris, that's a lot of books. How many so far? Six.
And I'm working on my seventh one, and that one hopefully come out next. The rest maybe either first quarter of 24 or this year. So we'll see.
All right. So I also have to ask you, because you know we're in a dealership now. The books, a lot of the titles you just shared, are there to help people do better in their job. And I think one of the facets, of a leader is we have to help our people become continuous learners, right? We're always learning in the car business. I know the people watching here today are learning. They want to see and hear, you know, the best practices from the best, like yourself. How do I become a continuous learner? And, you know, from your perspective, how do I stay a continuous learner?
Well, you got to understand that you've never arrived. I feel like the moment you feel like you've arrived, it's game over, right? I feel like I need to learn, continue to keep getting better, no matter what level in life that I'm at. You know, we've done a pretty good job in the companies that I've been involved in, and we found some pretty good success. Money's done. We've done really well for ourselves, right? So even it doesn't matter what level you're at, that financial complacency, always trying to get better, out and improve yourself, learn, continue to keep learning, and then help people below you try to get up there too. So I think that's kind of the circle of life.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. How does Chris Martinez drive himself to find new and innovative ways to compete and win? How do you stay on top? How do you do it, Chris?
Well, I hate to say it like this because I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything like that, but in our industry, it's kind of easy, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of people that don't want to continue to keep getting better. They get financial complacency. And so when you see that, it's opportunity for people like myself that can come in to any market really and just be a driving force and kind of dominate that space.
Here we are, end of January, going into the second month of the year. Last question for today, Chris. A lot of the folks watching today are, looking for ideas and best practices on service, parts, on recon. Used cars are now a big part of the fixed operations community, with all that's happened in the last couple of years. And one of the things we've learned, over the last couple of years is the essential nature of that passenger vehicle, how important it is. I think it's all reinforced it, for everybody. How do you envision the importance of fixed operations, Chris, in the future, looking forward as a dealer, from your perspective as to where we're headed with fixed ops?
Fixed ops it's essential. I think that without fixed ops, you can't have sales. And look at what's happened with Carvana, right? A prime example. They don't have a service facility. They try to go to a model, which they proved it was a decent model. I mean, they sold 500,000 cars, right? But without having to service those customers, that extra revenue probably proved to be that something that was not helpful in their success. I mean, there's so many Carvana cars that I service at all of our stores that do penetrate our market, and without that service facility, they could have been more profitable.
Yeah, there's no question. So, Chris, congratulations on your success. We're off to a great start in 2023. Congratulations on the new book, the latest book, When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Car Salesperson by Chris J. Martinez. Chris, if our audience wants to get the book, how do we go about it? Where's the best place to do that?
You can go to Amazon.com and pick up your copy.
Wonderful. And again, I love the colors. I love the illustration. I love the fact that you're reinforcing parents reading, to their kids and taking the time to do that. And, I'm sure how important that is to all of us, and growing up and so on. So congratulations to Chris.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Chris Martinez, everybody, best-selling author, a force to be reckoned with. He is the platform director at Jackie Cooper Imports of Tulsa. Chris Martinez with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
This is our scanning system, which consists of a touchscreen computer and a 60-page per minute duplex scanner. I am going to show you how to scan a typical repair order. Bring up our dealer scanning application. Click on Repair Orders. Place the repair order in the scanner and click on the Scan Repair Order. This will start the scanning process, which will scan all pages front and back and automatically read the repair order number. After scanning is complete, the repair order number will be shown on the screen. For this example, the repair order number is 995957. You can now confirm that the repair order number matches the number on the screen. Then click OK, which converts the scanned pages into a PDF document and saves them into the system. To view the scanned pages, simply click on the View button, which will bring up the repair order where you can easily view and navigate all the scanned pages. You also have the ability to scan small items like battery test printouts or service coupons. Simply load the small items into the scanner and click the Scan Other Items button, and they will be scanned and added to the existing repair order. You can view the scanned items by clicking the View button where you can see the items at the bottom of the PDF document. It is simple. Now, I am going to show you how service advisors, accounting, warranty administrators, parts department, and technicians can easily retrieve the scanned repair orders. Each person will have the repair order viewer on their computer, which allows them to look up repair orders by repair order number, VIN number, or customer name. For this example, we will use the repair order we just scanned, which is 995957. Click Search. The scanned record will be shown, and by clicking on the scanned date, you can see the contents of the scanned repair order. Here, users can print or download or email the repair order document. It is simple. How much does this cost? You don't need to contact us or email us for a quote. We'll give it to you right now. $500 installation fee. $500 monthly service fee per unit. Unlimited scanning. No long-term contract, just month to month. Dealer scanning. Organize your dealership documents, saving time, space, and money.
True Warranty's claims department is best in class with all techs ASE certified. Claims are handled according to the policies that you define. Prompt response times and direct communication with our techs ensure that your service departments are always happy.